you'll see that there's a portion of your journey where you'll start questioning a lot of things. You question who you are. Is this real? Is what you experience even real? And how do you move forward, right? And these are very valid questions.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been a couple of days since I posted that first video as it relates to my healing process and what I went through and how I'm still processing things. So right now, what I wanted to share with you is a part that most of us don't get to talk about often because it's so confusing. It's a space that is a bit uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable because you really just don't know. It's that space where you have so many questions. But what I will do is I will have you listen to this recording that I did on the same day. I just didn't post it in that first video because I thought it would be much better as a second video because it can be a lot, especially depending on that first portion of your healing process. So I'll have you listen to that and then we'll go from there.
I feel like I'm going through an existential crisis, if that's even the word. I am questioning my whole entire being for the last 36 years. Like, have any of the choices that I've made, have they been based on who I am authentically, or is it based on being rebellious, or is it both? I think that's the challenge that I'm having. I'm not able to pinpoint which one was based on being authentically guided, which is not true. Even just sitting here saying that, no, I am able to. But then the ones that were based on me being rebellious. I have to go back to my content. The rebel. I think the important thing now is knowing and doing it differently moving forward. That's what's important. Is knowing now and doing it differently. I have so many questions. So many questions. I guess the major question is, was any of it real? Was any of it authentic? Even I was saying that this is me being my authentic self. Me wanting to skydive, was that me wanting to do that because, or it's because it's not necessarily the norm? Yeah, I think the important thing is knowing now to do things differently. Making sure that I'm going in the direction, not because I'm trying to be rebellious, but because that's the direction that I want to go.
Yeah, so in listening to that, you'll see that there's a portion of your journey where you'll start questioning a lot of things. You question who you are. Is this real? Is what you experience even real? And how do you move forward, right? And these are very valid questions. I want you to understand that asking these questions doesn't mean the end. It doesn't mean that you are stuck there. It's an opening. It's an opening for you to start doing things differently. Not just for yourself, but for your journey, right? We're all here with a purpose. Whatever it is for you. I know for me, I know that the closer and closer I get to being myself, because I think we are like, I know myself, I know who I am. And the truth is, the knowing who I am is a really tedious, sometimes long journey. It's the long game, right? It's the long game. You don't really know who you are all the way until you start having these experiences, and then you get to, especially if you've lost your way due to people pleasing, it's actually a journey that allows for you to pick up on those parts of you that you enjoy. Maybe you didn't get the chance to do them when you wanted to, and now you are having these experiences and you get to check off, okay, so I've done this. What was that experience like for me? Especially if you're living in the moment, do I want to hold on to that? And you get the choice to hold on to it or to do away with it. And that's kind of what we'll be going through today, as it relates to what I got from that entire experience of being rebellious, the perfectionist, a mixture of both. Because even looking back and reflecting on the video that I posted, I watched it and I was like, well, there's a mixture of both. And what did I get from those experiences? What did they teach me about me? So in recognizing that I can do that, that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, because this is a conversation I was also having with my friend. I said to her, am I free-spirited because I was rebellious, or because I was rebellious is why I'm free-spirited? And those are questions that will and can come up for you, and it's not to be afraid of it. It's just to explore it, right? Explore it with an open mind. At least that was my experience. That is my experience, where and you'll see me look down quite a few times because I had to write a couple of things down, because that's how introspection works. If you keep it all up here, then you're not making space for new information. So I wrote a couple of things down that I will be sharing with you guys today. So, since the healing session, there has been a lot of random cries, which I told you can happen, will happen, and that's okay, right? That's your way of releasing. At least for me, it's a way of cleansing. And in cleansing, I no longer hold on to the pain that was associated with those experiences, that first or a couple of experiences that I was able to piece together. So this week, I worked with a few ladies and I could see and reflect what was going on. It's interesting because I feel like I was just an observer, right? And that's something that happens often because, like I said, I do a couple of healing sessions every now and again, and every time I do one, it puts me in a space where I'm just observing life, right? You're no longer so much in a chokehold of the thing that you are trying to work through or love yourself through. So you get to start observing life a little bit more, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, so what do I do now? Like, how do I make that next step? What does that next step look like? But you do it from a space of observation. You are now in a space where you start making choices based on where you are in this moment versus where you were when it originally started. And it's interesting because you start to piece together things and essentially why it had to happen the way that it happened, if you get what I'm saying. Anyways, right now I'm in the process of grieving, because that is such a pivotal step in this process. It's recognizing the beautiful moments, recognizing the value, recognizing those experiences and what it gave to you, and also releasing the ones that no longer are valuable to you. And in releasing, that means grieving that version of you, because that version of you no longer exists. And that sometimes is difficult because you're like, okay, so if I grieve that version of me, then who am I? And that's up to you, right? That's the beautiful part, is when you ask, who am I? You are not relying on other people to tell you that. You get to make that choice on your own. You get to create that version of yourself, and you can create it from a space of what feels real, what seems real to you, versus the expectation that was probably set previously. So I say all of that to say, grieve, release, cleanse, do whatever it is that you need to do in this moment to have a fresh start, because that's really what this all is when you are healing, you are giving yourself a fresh start. It's a do-over, right? And you don't have to hold on to the past. I know a lot of people still hold on to the past and want to move. It's like you're mixing the clean clothes with the dirty clothes. You don't need to, right? You have the option. And the thought that's coming to my mind as well, it's, well, if I am this new person, how do I integrate this new person, this new version of me into this world that I've known, that has pre-existed, the friends? That part is entirely up to you. I know that over the past couple of years in doing my own healing, that some people, like I said, don't come along with you on this journey. Some people, it's a bit much for them, especially if they haven't done their healing. What it does, it puts them in a space where they now start to feel uncomfortable because, one, maybe they don't know that version of you. And it means just getting to know that new version, right? It's like a first date again. Get to know that friend, get to know that partner. It's an adventure. And that's sometimes scary for a lot of people. So it's meeting them where they are and being okay with that. So one thing that I will say is, in reflecting, I recognize that being a rebel made me feel alive. Long and short of the story, it made me feel alive. And it made me feel alive because there were parts of being a rebel that showed me. And that's really it. It showed me parts of me, and it made me feel as if I was no longer existing. I was actually living. So like I was saying, these experiences aren't necessarily happening for you to condemn yourself, to shame yourself. It's really for you to pick the parts of it that you want to hold on to, not because you are afraid, but you want to hold on to it because it feels real to you. So the part about it that made being a rebel exciting, and I'm not going to even split them up, I'm just going to give all of them kind of mixed in, and an explanation if necessary. So first on my list, being a rebel created a space for me to be fearless. And when I say fearless, it's not saying that I'm without fear. It's saying that I would feel the fear, but I would still do it anyways. This is just an arbitrary example. Skydiving, I was terrified. I wanted to do it since I was 7, but even going into the plane, that was the calmest moment for me. When we got to the spot that we needed to jump out, I was still calm, strangely enough. When he opened that door, I was like, shit, what the hell was I thinking? But I did it anyways because, one, we were already there, and I was like, no, I've been wanting to do this all my life, basically, so why not just do it? So being fearless, and this is something that a friend of mine and I were talking about, being fearless doesn't mean that you don't have fears. It means that you simply do it anyways. So that's one thing. It made me take a lot of risks, and that can be good and bad. Because some of the risks that I took in my life, I could have done without. So I want to hold on to being fearless. I want to hold on to parts of being risque, especially because It gave me beautiful experiences. So it's like I'm caught in the middle with that one. So we're gonna jump into another one. Free spirited. Yeah, that is like an entire umbrella. Being a rebel made me open-minded. I had to be open-minded because when you only know one thing and you are trying to rebel against that one thing, you have to open your mind to all the possibilities, all the endless possibilities. And that's the beautiful part about being in that space, was that it opened my mind to endless possibilities. And I definitely want to hold on to that. Made me very flexible and adaptable. I'm holding on to that. That feels real to me. The ones that I'm holding on to are the ones that feel real to me. It allowed for me to find my own path. Yeah, it's allowing me, even in this moment, to find my own path. Adventurous, experiential, and a bit of a firecracker. If you know me outside of these walls, you know that describes me in general. And it feels good for me. It not only feels good, it makes sense for me and the direction that my life has taken me and where it is taking me. I believe that those experiences, those adventures taught me a lot. It taught me so much that I'm now able to relate to different cultures, different people. And I think the part of it that I am now going to add to that is also exploring my own culture a little bit more. Yeah, that's all I'll say for now. Being a rebel made me think about myself to the extreme sometimes, but it made me think about myself and how things affected me, and not going into situations because that's what was expected of me. It made me consider myself, and that right now is an epidemic for women. Yeah. Most times women aren't necessarily thinking about themselves. They're always considering, how can I please this person? And that partially was me at some point in the perfectionist era. But for the most part, I've always considered myself, how will this affect me? Do I even want to do this? So I will hold on to that, but find my little balance, if you get what I'm saying. I am a transformation catalyst, and all these things that I'm holding on to makes me who I am today. It makes me the person that will walk into a room and do things in a different way. Not because, of course, trying to be a rebel, but because there's an opening for it. There's an opportunity for it. You see that maybe there's a part of a conversation that is missing. I'm the person that will add that part to bring balance to that conversation. So I'm definitely holding on to that. Being a rebel forced me to grow exponentially. There are moments where, and I think that's also a mixture of the perfectionism too, because you're trying to, what's the word that I'm looking for? Losing my chain of thought. Yeah, you're always trying to be better. So if you're always trying to be better, you're always growing. As a mixture of being rebellious as well, it factors in the taking the risks, right? It made me courageous for sure. It allowed me to see people. It allowed me to be at peace. It allowed me to accept myself more and more. So every time I would do something and it would feel good for me, it would make sense for me, I would hold on to that. And I would love myself through it. And there were things that I picked up on that I didn't necessarily love, but I'm working through that because I'm a work in progress. It made me mentally strong. Being a rebel, takes a lot of energy because you're constantly fighting. And after a while, after doing this for so long, you become mentally strong. The word that comes to mind often is resilient. It makes you so mentally resilient that you are almost prepared, and sometimes to a fault, you are so desensitized. And for as long as I've known myself, I have been very sensitive, and it forced me to be desensitized to certain conversations, to certain topics. And I'll share this with you. The last couple of days, because of the healing session, I'm now recognizing that I lived in my head a whole lot. And because of the healing session, I was able to get back into my body and feel safe in my body. And I could feel more. I was feeling so anxious, I want to say. My body, my nervous system was so dysregulated. I didn't know how to navigate it for a little bit, because I'm like, okay, I'm doing these breathing exercises, but my body was just dysregulated. And also, I was so tired. You see, once you've been out of your body for so long and you finally get back into it, and I know that sounds a little strange, you get back into your body, it's like, wow, no, I'm really, really tired, because you can feel the tiredness. You're now aware of your body and the processes. I could feel my heart just beating constantly. Like, I could feel the blood just rushing through my veins. Like, yeah, I'm that sensitive. And I believe that because this world has been so much for me, still recording, yes we are, because I'm so sensitive and there's so much happening in the world, I find refuge up here, and I'm now feeling safety here because of the healing session. So I will hold on to that. And what was I saying? Where was I going with this? Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, that happens sometimes. But essentially, I believe what I was trying to get to is that I was able to recognize that my way of surviving in this world was to get out of my body, because I was so sensitive. I was feeling so much anxiety that it felt better to be in my headspace, because that I had strength with, not necessarily in my body. And as I go through life right now and I'm building the strength within my body, I feel a sense of peace, a sense of gratitude, and also this sense of safety staying in my body. But I won't say that I'm moving forward not going to be a rebel, but I'm going to be a rebel with a cause, right? I think before I had no cause. No, I'm going to be a rebel with a cause, and being intentional with that. Now, on the flip side of it, there are times where being a rebel, I actually sabotaged myself. Made a lot of mistakes, a lot of costly mistakes, and that ties into me wasting a lot of money. If I look back, I wasted so much money, and I mean, universe, if you want to send that money back to me, I am grateful and I am willing to take it. Yeah, I wasted a lot of money. I wasted a lot of money when I could have just listened, not just to my intuition. And I think that's the part that was difficult for me, is intuitively I would have been told something, but because it aligned with something that I was fighting, and you heard me correctly, something that I was fighting, I wouldn't listen. And it cost me dearly. Learned the lessons, but it cost me. Being a rebel, yeah, you rub a lot of people the wrong way. Oh yeah. Because remember, you're always going against, or for the most part, going against something that is the norm. And when you are questioning, when you are challenging the norm, especially with people that don't necessarily think for themselves, you're going to get pushback, and you're also gonna sometimes lose relationships, friendships, because of how things have transpired. It's understanding that had to happen, one, and also understanding that there are better ways to disagree and still respect each other. Oh, I made a lot of ill-informed decisions. A lot of ill-informed decisions. And that, I would say, came from a space of, again, not wanting to listen. those ill-informed decisions, yes, give me beautiful lessons, but there were times where I didn't mix logics in and made some emotional decisions, and again, it cost me.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm learning in this moment as well, is to just be a little bit more objective. Objectivity is necessary, especially on my journey.
I wanted to say I missed out on some opportunities, but I believe that I don't really miss out on opportunities. If I miss out on it today, it'll probably come right back to me eventually. So that one I will remove. It was exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting being a rebel because you're always fighting. And if you're not fighting others, you're fighting yourself. In fact, most of the times you're fighting yourself, especially if you're not doing it from a space of being a rebel with a cause. You are legitimately fighting yourself because you don't want to keep yourself in a box. Yeah, I didn't trust people very much. Yeah. I didn't trust people because the expectation was that they wanted me to be something that I wasn't. And that wasn't all the time, but it felt like being me was being challenged. And also me, I was perpetuating that as well. If I look back at it, I was perpetuating that. So it's finding a little balance as it relates to that, and figuring that part out.
And to be honest, sometimes the expectation wasn't set by others. I think it was self-inflicted, to the point that even if someone wanted to accept me as I was standing in front of them, I didn't give them that opportunity. I walked in with the energy of fighting, or that fighting energy essentially. So yeah, it's catching yourself in that moment and questioning if what you imagine is happening, if what you're perceiving is happening, is actually happening.
Let me see what else I got here. So, what no? What no? In this moment when you have all these questions, you're figuring out what you want to keep, what you want to throw away, just be kind. Yeah, that's the one thing that I would suggest, is being kind. Being kind to myself in this moment, because none of it is making a lot of sense, and I think that's the part that's scary for my mind, not so much for my heart, because I'm getting out of my head a lot more and into my heart space, and listening to that part. And in listening to that, I'm recognizing that I gotta be kind to myself even in those moments where shit doesn't make sense. And trust me, a lot of shit isn't gonna make sense in this period. Recording still? Yeah. A lot of stuff isn't going to make sense in this moment because you're putting the puzzle. It's like you have just started this new puzzle. All the pieces are jumbled up and you're just simply putting the pieces together right now. That can be fun for a lot. That's fun for me. So I'm being kind to myself, being gentle with myself, being soft with myself, and I'm breathing through it. That's something that I realized throughout the session was I've been holding in my stomach for so long that I didn't even realize it. And when I released the feeling, the pain of that little girl, I feel like I could breathe again. I just let my stomach out. My little big stomach.
Your stomach is like the central processing unit for your body. Your gut, that's where all of your emotions are stored. So it's so important to make sure that you release those emotions and your gut health is on point.
And in letting it out, and I was able to breathe, I felt so free. So right now, I am going with that freeness and allowing myself to process slowly but surely. And it can look like this for a little bit, and after a while you start to, you put those pieces together and you start to see an actual vision, you start to see an actual picture. You now understand why it had to happen the way that it did. And while I'm looking forward to that part, I'm also staying present too, because it's in the present moment that you find that peace of mind, you find that joy. And I know what that peace of mind and that joy feels like, what it looks like. And I know I don't stay there forever, but I'm willing to give it a shot. So I believe that's all I have for y'all today. Yeah, it's what now? I continue to grieve that version of me because I'm now in a new season. I know there will be roadblocks at times. Absolutely, there will be roadblocks, but it's responding differently this time and not reacting. So that's it for me today. I'm gonna continue to ride this wave and see where it takes me, and that's all I can do really, and just continue to be kind to myself. And I will advise you to do the same if you're also on your own healing journey. It can get a little shaky, but remember that this is new, and all you really need to give yourself is some grace. But anyways, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next week. Take care.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.